On a quiet night, just before the world slowly drifts to sleep, you might be lying in your bed right now, the room around you still and silent, with only the faintest distant sounds moving softly through the darkness. In this moment, let us travel somewhere else, somewhere calm and far away, back to a different time, when roads were long and quiet, and letters were the only way to speak to those we loved. There was a small military camp resting between tall, silent mountains, where soldiers spent long nights waiting. Not everything in war was loud, as people often imagine. In truth, there were long stretches of silence, hours that passed slowly, filled only with the gentle crackling of a fire and the quiet whisper of the wind moving between the tents. The soldiers would sit close to a small fire, watching the flames rise and fall, their warm light dancing softly across tired faces. Some of them would look up at the sky, where the stars spread wide above them like distant lanterns, glowing softly in the dark. Others would sit quietly, writing letters, simple words sent across long distances to a mother waiting patiently, to a wife they missed deeply, or to a child who had grown a little taller since the last time they had been home. These small moments, quiet and gentle, were the things that made the nights easier to carry. With the first light of morning, the camp would slowly begin to wake. The golden sunlight would touch the tops of the mountains first, then slowly move downward, warming the earth below. One by one, the soldiers would rise, stretching away the heaviness of the night, moving slowly without rush. Some would place a kettle over the fire to prepare tea, while others would walk between the tents, their footsteps soft and unhurried. The mornings in the camp were peaceful, almost quiet enough for thought to settle gently in the mind. One day, the soldiers prepared for a short journey. A narrow dirt road stretched far ahead of them, winding between hills and scattered trees, leading toward a distant village. They believed it would be an ordinary trip, just another quiet walk across the land. But life often hides its most important moments in the simplest beginnings. The road was long and gently curved between rocky hills. The air was cool and carried with it the soft scent of warm earth and grass. The soldiers walked slowly, step after step, their boots pressing softly against the ground, the faint sound of small stones shifting beneath their feet, blending with the quiet wind. Then something caught their attention. A small movement, barely noticeable at first, near the edge of the road. One of the soldiers paused and looked more closely. At a distance, it seemed like a small animal, perhaps a dog. But as they approached, they saw a young boy standing there, holding something carefully in his arms. The soldiers gathered around him, their curiosity growing. The boy looked a little tired, but there was a quiet smile on his face. In his arms, wrapped gently, was a small creature covered in soft brown fur. As the soldiers leaned closer, they realized what they were looking at. It was not a dog, it was a bear cub. The little bear was calm, far calmer than they expected. Its small eyes moved slowly, observing the world around it, taking in every new face, every unfamiliar sound. One of the soldiers let out a quiet laugh and said in a warm and gentle voice, "It seems we've found a new companion." Another soldier reached out slowly and touched the cub's fur. It was soft, warm, and comforting to the touch. bear did not pull away. It simply remained still, curious and calm. In that quiet moment, something small began, something no one had planned, and yet something that would grow into a story worth remembering. Days passed, and then weeks. The bear became part of the camp in a way that felt natural, as if he had always been there. In the mornings, the soldiers would wake to find him sitting near the tents, watching quietly as the camp came to life. Sometimes he would follow them when they went to fetch water, walking beside them along the narrow paths. Other times, he would lie down under the warm sunlight, resting peacefully. He was curious about everything. He would sniff tools, examine wooden crates, and sometimes, in moments that brought unexpected laughter, he would try to play with helmets, pushing them gently with his nose. The soldiers began to smile more often, their days made lighter by the quiet presence of their unusual companion. But what the bear loved most was the evening, when the day slowed and the soldiers gathered once again around the fire, the air growing cooler, the sky filling with stars. The bear would come closer. He would lie down near them, resting in the soft glow of the flames, his eyes slowly closing, as if he understood that this place, these people, had become his home. As time passed, months moved quietly forward, and a new journey began. The camp could not remain where it was. The soldiers were called to move, to travel across long distances and unfamiliar lands. At first, they were unsure whether the bear could come with them. He had grown larger now, stronger, and yet still gentle. None of them wanted to leave him behind. After some thought, they made a decision that might have seemed strange to others. They decided to make him one of them. The bear was officially registered as a soldier. He was given a number, food like the others, and a place among them. To anyone else, it might have seemed unusual, but to the soldiers, it felt completely natural. He was not just a bear, he was a friend. They traveled far, across long roads, and eventually across the sea. The ships moved slowly through the water, the sound of the waves steady and calming. The wind passed gently over the deck, carrying with it the scent of salt and distance. The bear would sometimes stand quietly, looking out toward the horizon, his gaze fixed on the endless line where the sky met the sea. He may not have understood where they were going, but he knew one thing clearly: he was not alone. When they reached their destination, the land was different. The mountains were taller, the ground more difficult, and the work ahead of them was heavy. The soldiers moved supplies, carried equipment, and prepared for what was to come. One day, something unexpected happened. The bear approached as they worked and began to help. At first, the soldiers laughed softly, unsure of what he was doing. But then they noticed something remarkable. The bear was strong, stronger than any of them I had imagined. He began carrying heavy shells, moving them slowly and carefully to where they were needed. He did not understand the meaning of war or the weight of what he carried. He simply followed the example of those around him, doing what his friends were doing. The soldiers watched him with quiet admiration. A great bear walking among them, carrying weight as if he belonged there, as if he had always been one of them. Time passed, and one day, as all wars eventually do, the war came to an end. The loud sounds faded, replaced by a growing silence. The soldiers began to speak of home, of returning. of the long journey behind them. In the camp, there was a strange feeling, a gentle mix of relief and quiet longing. Some thought of their families, others of the roads they had walked. The bear knew nothing of war or endings. He only knew this place and these people, the ones who had become his family. But once again, life was changing. After the war, the bear was taken to a peaceful place, far away from camps and long, dusty roads. It was a place filled with trees, soft grass, and open space. A place where the air was calm and the days moved slowly. People came to visit him. Some already knew his story, while others heard it for the first time, listening quietly, imagining the journey he had taken. And yet, deep inside, he remained the same gentle bear who had once sat beside a small fire in a quiet mountain camp, who had walked beside soldiers, who had brought warmth and quiet joy into difficult days. And now, as this story gently comes to its end, the night around you may feel a little quieter, a little softer. The world may seem calmer, as if it too is slowly preparing to rest. Take a slow breath and allow the story to fade gently, like the last glow of a small fire in the darkness, soft, warm, and peaceful. And now, it is time to sleep.
Woo!